Hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking about the Olight O Pen Glow. This is the latest in the series of O Pen lights that Olight has released, and it features a couple of unique features on it that are not found in the previous generations and some changes. Let's start with the run times here. The lowest mode, which is moonlight mode, is going to be 5 lumens, and that runs for about 5 hours. The second lowest is going to be 20 lumens, which is the low mode, and that runs for about an hour and 50 minutes. The next mode is going to be medium, and that runs for about 60 lumens, or 45 minutes approximately. And then the highest mode is going to be 120 lumens, and that's going to run for about 14 minutes. Then it's going to step down to 60 lumens for about 21 minutes. The pen tip LED inside of the light runs at 0.2 lumens, and that's going to run for 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's important to note that you can run both the regular light and the pen tip light together. Your run times will vary based on that as well. Overall dimensions are going to be 155 by 12.7 millimeters, or 6.10 inches by 0.5 inches. Weight's going to be 38 grams or 1.34 ounces. And the battery life is going to be 0.407 watt hours or 110 milliamp hours at 3.7 volts with the included internal lithium polymer battery. The light is also IPX4 rated for the top half. It's got a drop rating of 0.8 meters and a far beam distance of 14 meters on the furthest or highest level of light. The light also features a newer proprietary charging system, which includes a charging cradle holder and a USB-C cable, as well as a magnetic included sticker to stick the magnetic light tail stand on. The light also features a Class 1 laser, and that's 0.39 milliwatts. Max runtime on that's going to be 6 hours, and the laser wavelength is 510 to 530 nm. The light also has a unique cartridge system that's different than some of the previous O Pen models, which means that the cartridge itself is fully metallic, so that it makes contact to charge in the base of the charger and also initiate the tip light to be activated. We can see the Olight O Pen Glow here with the blue anodized coating, the dimples here on the front for texturing, the L-bolt actuator here in the front, and then we have the Olight name, the serial number, the model name, and we have the main LED here with the pocket clip. On the top here we have the push button actuator along with the Class 1 laser at the top, the green one. And we have this in lockout mode right now. In the front here we have a copper tip, which is a conductive tip to help this charge when it contacts with the center pin or the center pen tip. And there's a LED inside there, a small little one. So let's go ahead and take this apart and look at the inside here. We have an O-ring here with the threads for the IPX4 rating on the top half. And much like the O Pen Pro, where normally there would be a USB-C section here for charging this without a proprietary charging system, we have 2 contact points. And we have the butt actuator, another point here. We have some threading here, aluminum threading that's pretty thin. And we also have the threading in the bottom there and the contact point for the bolt. So that's the inside of the upper portion. We can look at the lower portion. We simply unscrew the tip here, and you can, like we showed before, replace the tip here with an interchangeable proprietary ink insert, which is all metal tip for conductivity for charging in its proprietary charging system. We have an O-ring here, some more threads. You can take this out. There's a little placeholder inside of it that fits it snugly. If you push it in too far, it may not make contact with the charger, so you kind of have to figure out the optimal positioning for that piece in there. And that is the inside tip replacement for the cartridge of the Olight O Pen Glow. Let's get into the UI modes. So this has a lockout mode, which we can deactivate by holding down the switch at the top here. If you push once, it will stay locked out and just temporarily turn on. However, if you turn on and hold down, it'll deactivate the lockout. And if you push and hold, we have our lowest mode, which is moonlight mode. and then we can push and hold, and it'll rotate through the other 3 modes. So in total, 4 modes. It'll stay locked into the upper 3 modes, the low, medium, high, as we can see here. And that's how you scroll between the 2. If you want to turn it off, you simply push down the button and it turns off. To engage the tip light, you would have to engage the cartridge here in cartridge first, and then push the top button once. And then we have a light at the tip here. So now we can see what we're writing. A pretty useful feature for when you're writing in the dark, when you want to consume or conserve power rather. And an interesting light nonetheless. And you can also engage the top light and the pen light at the same time. And you can also rotate the different modes of the lights as well on the top main one while having the pen tip engaged. To turn them off, both of them or one of them, simply push once and that will disengage the light. To engage the laser, it's much like the O Pen Pro where you push up on the bolt and we have our laser. To disengage, push once on the bolt and that's it. We're off. To lock out, you want to hold down the top button for over 4 seconds. It'll turn the LED on once and then turn it off. And then to check it, you simply push on the LED once on top. And if it turns on temporarily, it's locked out. So that is the basic UI mode of the O Pen O Glow. We're going to go ahead and get some beam shots and writing tests here. Okay, we're back shooting an aperture of 5.0 with the temperature balance of 5000K and Panasonic GH2. ISO is going to be 160, which is really low for the shot, but I want to show the clarity of the beam and highest quality here. I want a 14 to 42 millimeter lens, shooting at 24 frames per second at a shutter speed of 1/50 or 48. So we have the light on in the lowest mode, moonlight mode for the main LED here, and we'll go up about maybe roughly a foot off. And we can see the lux and CCT is about spot on for the measurements, or thereabouts anyway. Let's go ahead and bump up the mode to the low mode here instead of moonlight. And we're about 154 lux, same CCT. Let's go to medium mode. And then we have the lux jumping up to 704. CCT drops a little bit. And then let's go to the highest mode, which is going to be 1200 lux or so, 12,000 or 1,200 rather. CCT is around the ballpark, and CRI is pretty low for all the modes. Let's go ahead and just check on the BBL chart here, what the highest mode is getting us. So it looks more on the yellowish tint side. And let's see if there's any flickering with this. Let's go back to the low mode. And let's start this right now. Okay. And we're going to do only 3 highest modes here. Let's turn this off, turn back on in the lowest mode. This is the moonlight mode, and we'll hold it about maybe a foot off the table or so. And let's go to the low one. And then medium. And finally the highest mode. We can see on the highest mode, we do have some artifacting here with straight lines going through it. So if you're looking for a nice clear beam without any artifacts or weird color distortions, this is not the light for you. Let's go ahead and get that pen tip light there. So this is what it looks like with the pen tip light if you're writing on the table. Pretty straightforward. And it does illuminate pretty well. You can't see on the camera, but you can actually see what you would be writing in the front there, which is quite useful. And let's go ahead and do the laser real quick just for fun. Okay, we're going to do some drawing tests here with some lines real quick. So this is going to be with light pressure with this cartridge. Medium pressure. and then heavier pressure. And then just barely touching the paper. So the ink does flow smoothly, at least in these lines here. And the tip works fairly well. Let's do a little eyeball here, maybe. And see what this does for a quick sketch. Not bad. Seems to work pretty well for a proprietary cartridge. No problems with that at all. Let's turn off the lights real quick just to see how it works when I'm writing in the dark. Here we can see the amperage that this is pulling and the voltage at which the charging dock is using to charge the O Pen Glow. We have 5.12 volts at 1.70 amps. And this is a USB-C charging cable with the USB-A out into our battery bank here. The included USB-C to USB-C charging cable is fairly useful in some cases, but I'm not sure why it would only be USB-C to USB-C. They could have done a USB-A to USB-C at least, or some sort of more modular connection or a type of adapter. But nonetheless, this is glowing red here, and when this is done, it'll glow green for a short bit and then turn itself off. Here we can see the comparisons to some previous models of the O Pen. We have the oldest type of iteration, or one of the older iterations, which is the O Pen 2 here on the left in copper. We have the fairly more recent one, which is the O Pen Pro. And then finally we have the O Pen Glow, which is the most recent iteration. So some of the differences with these is that this features no LED, or rather no tip LED, much like the newer one, and no laser, class 1 laser. It was changed, and the lighting is also on the actual unit itself instead of the clip, and still retains the same L-bolt actuator, and we have a top actuator button on the top here. In this particular model, we do have a lockout mode, although the original aluminum ones did not have this. The special variants sometimes may have had this type of lockout mode for the O Pen 2, and the ink cartridges are not fully metal or metallic, and they're slightly different. Moving along, they upgraded it, or rather side graded is what I'll call it, to a laser type of emitter and a slightly different UI system. This has the laser in it in the top, once again much like the newer O Pen Glow, and this was the O Pen Pro. But the actuator for the front light here is also by pushing up as well, as you can see, and then rotating it as well. And much like all these across this UI system, if you double click from the outset, it will go into the brightest mode. I didn't feature that before with the O Glow, but you can do that as well. The laser's at the top, but there's no push down button. And once again, this is the last model to feature a USB-C charging port here in the model itself. So you did not need to use a proprietary charging system. These all feature O-rings with their electronic capsule, so they are water resistant. And again, the comparison with the newest O Pen Glow, you need a proprietary charging system to charge the internal battery inside of it, and you cannot take out this battery also, so that is important to note. So we can see right there, there's the charging system versus the USB-C charging port on the previous two models. So those are some of the changes that have been done across the line over the years for the Olight O Pen lineup. Some of my final thoughts with the O Pen Glow. There's some pros and there are some cons to it. Let's start out with the pros. The pro is that the UI system is much more flexible in terms of activating which light you want or item you want via the tip light or the main light or even the LED, or rather the laser. I keep wanting to call it LED. It's very simplistic and simplified, which I do like. It's an improvement over the O Pen Pro model, and it's on par with the O Pen 2 in copper UI model. The lockup mode is fantastic to have on a aluminum-based light, as the lockup mode has not always been available to aluminum-based lights with the Olight O Pen lineup. The LED is nothing to write home about, but then these are small LEDs, and the artifacts are still in the tip one, at least on the clip side of it, meaning it was always there with the O Pen Pro, and it's still there with the O Pen Glow, which, if you're looking for a nice beam profile, this is not the light for you. The O Pen 2 had better beam profiles, in my opinion, with a better diffusion of the light and a slightly different LED, I believe, inside of it, based on the sizing of the older model versus the newer. Plus, you get a little bit more light output. The tip of it lighting up is an excellent idea, and the execution of the idea, it does leave a little bit to be desired, but we'll get to that in a moment. The fact that this has a lockup mode makes this a nice light. The color, fit, and finish of it is a nice change of pace, although I do like the original striations on the older models to grip the pen easier, but this is nice to have the dimpling as well. Now for the cons. For one, amongst all of them, all the models that they've released, is that you cannot replace the battery with like a 10180 battery, for example, in some other pen light combos. Two, it uses a proprietary charging system now, which is, in my opinion, a very big negative. If they had included a secondary auxiliary charging system via USB-C charging port in the unit, that would have been a better move on their part, in my opinion. However, they did not include that, so that takes this a step down below even the O Pen Pro, in my opinion. If there was a tier of O Pens that I liked the best, it would be the O Pen 2 in copper, the O Pen Pro, and then the O Glow. And that is the main reason, because of the charging system. These other two systems use a USB-C charging system, which is a fantastic way of charging your light without having to buy any extra equipment or pack extra charging units in your bag or whatever. You can just simply use a USB-C cable and charge it up. This, you need to lug around this charging base, and doesn't always properly connect if you don't seat the cartridge right in the system. So that's another negative with this. And moving on to the cartridge system, you do need a proprietary type of cartridge, which is an all-metal tip here, which does get more pricey and makes this thing harder to service in the field and more expensive to maintain. So that is a very big negative, in my opinion. Hopefully they can change that. Other than that, the LED artifacts is a minor thing. It's still IPX4 weather resistant rating for the top half at least, which is nice. And the fit and finish is decent. That's all I have to say for the negative part on the O Pen Glow. So I guess in the tier of order, I just rank it at the lowest part, where the O Pen Pro would be in the middle, and at the top would be the O Pen 2 in copper. The writing experience is the best out of all three, but then you can get updated cartridges to throw in there, or even if you're pretty savvy enough, do maybe a 3D printed adapter or make your own type of cartridge holder for these pens, as the cartridges do tend to run out fairly shortly after using them heavily. So they don't last a very long time, these ink cartridges. Just something to note that I've noticed with using my pens at least. And that's all I have to say with the Olight O Pen Glow. An interesting light, but I think as a concept execution, it failed in some points that are pretty key for a good, decent, pocketable EDC pen light. Thank you for watching and enjoy your day.